My ex-partner stole the manuscript I was working on. Now they are a best-selling author. I have a plan for revenge. I had passion for writing, which at the same time helped me get through tough phases of life. After years of practicing writing and getting better at it, I finally finished my manuscript and started my search for an audience. And after pouring my heart and soul into my work, I believed someday someone will read it. Everything started falling into place when I thought I had finally created a novel that would be my breakthrough. Little did I know it would not be so simple. Our relationship always had trust issues, although we had been together for 2 years. I remember showing it to Ian, my boyfriend at the time. He had a habit of showering me with compliments, which now makes me wonder, why did I trust him? He never failed to tell me how talented I was, and when I allowed him to read my manuscript, he was the first to tell me how much he loved it. He constantly told me he is my biggest fan, but this time I truly started believing it. Once I sent the manuscript to the publishers, I was sitting on the edge of my seat waiting for their response. But then it all came crashing down. Ian and I had a massive fight that is fueled by years of bottled-up hatred. We broke up rather messily, with angry shouting and blaming each other. To what once was a happy relationship, this was a bitter end. He moved out, taking with him his belongings and something much more valuable without my knowledge. Months passed, and while I was trying to pick the pieces in my life, I was hearing murmurs about a new bestseller that had recently taken the literary world by storm. It was everywhere, bookstores, to magazines, to talk shows. The author's name rang a bell: Ian Carrington. It made my stomach drop. I quickly made my way to the nearest bookstore looking for a copy. My hands were trembling as I flipped through to the pages. It was my manuscript, word for word. Every twist in the characters, every single thing about the story, everything was mine. I felt a mix of disbelief and betrayal. Ian had stolen my manuscript, published it under my name, and now was reaping all the benefits. The book phenomenon had made him the victor in what is being called a literary genius. If you have not been checking our channel regularly, there is a chance that you might never see it again. On the other hand, if you are subscribed, clap for yourself. There is no way you can miss out on the most intriguing stories, since you can view them at any time of your choosing. In the next few weeks, I was at the mercy of a storm of feelings. The deceit was agonizing. This was not merely a copied manuscript to a book. It was an erasure of my existence, my narrative. For whatever reason, he attempted to grab all my work and crafted a success story of his own. And, as if that wasn't enough, only a limited number of people were aware of the truth. In his case, they assumed him to be the genius writer that the entire populace was eager to read. I, however, was the book's true writer, now hidden away in darkness with not a single ounce of credit to my name. I make attempts to get through to him, to question him about his actions. Unfortunately, however, he seemed to be hiding away from me behind new friends and sources of influence. I was turned away by his publicist, his social media was pretty much locked down, and even his mobile number was different. He had entirely stopped socializing, cutting off all means of communication and trapping himself in the bubble of fame he had just acquired. A part of me wanted to reach for the publishers, but Ian had left absolutely no junctions. He had managed to destroy any evidence that the manuscript belonged to me. The original file on my computer was missing, with what I believed was a strategic hit at my PC during our breakup. He even went as far as stealing all of the printed drafts I had put so much effort into. I did not have any hard proof, so it was just his word against mine. And in his court of public opinion, I was just a nobody and he was the renowned author. Something like this was not going to make my life easier. I refused to give up that easily. Ian did put me through some trouble, but there was no way I was going to let my resolve shatter. He was gravely mistaken if he thought he would get to walk away with no repercussions after all that's happened. From this point, I had a plan to come up and burst his bubble and tell the world the truth. But I had to be careful while going about it. Any miscalculated decision could result in his claim being dismissed due to jealousy or awful rage. I had to come up with a way to win the battle. I began my search by gathering information about Ian's life, specifically the version that did not get presented to the world. I looked for old emails, messages, and notes we had exchanged throughout our relationship, hoping to uncover clues. I needed to find something, anything that would help me connect him to the theft of my manuscript and serve as proof. Weeks of searching paid off. In an old email that was sent to me 6 months before the book was published, Ian wrote to me speaking about our future. In the email, he multiplied the exclamation points after stating my manuscript was brilliant and, one day, it will be a bestseller. Although I had written that innocent message English class-esque, the context of Ian's actions made it quite the opposite. It provided proof that he was aware of my manuscript well before he published it. It wasn't much, but it's a start. After I collected all the information I needed, the next step was getting in touch with some mutual friends. Ideally, the people I would talk to would have known Ian and myself long enough to confirm that I, in fact, had written the manuscript and Ian never saw it. Fortunately, several of our friends recalled me ambling about my novel, detailing specific plot points and characters during gatherings. One lady even had messages from me months before the book's publication date explaining the storyline more in depth. This was the type of proof that would begin constructing my case. Using this evidence, I consulted a lawyer dealing with cases of intellectual property theft. I presented my case and all the evidence I had gathered. He showed signs of cautious optimism. With my resources, it was evident that my ex-spouse had taken my work, but proving it in a legal battle against a well-known author was going to be tricky. Now, Ian was certainly praised from a well-known publishing company, and his reputation at that time was untouchable. For me, the odds do not matter. I am here for a battle. My lawyer was signed onto my case right there, and we began the stressful journey for what looks like a very publicized legal battle. As time went on throughout the legal process, I came to realize I could not conduct this case alone. I needed public backing too. I was well aware of how easy it was for people to dismiss arguments such as mine as attempts at vengeance or opportunistic ploys. To change this narrative, I had to ensure my story got out before Ian's team could twist it against me. I took a leap of faith. I decided to write an open letter explaining my journey with the manuscript, including the years I spent working on it, the characters I created, and how it was taken by someone whom I trusted. I wrote about things in my old emails and messages, excerpts that would force people to doubt the bailiwick Ian had been selling. I uploaded the letter on a widely read website which respected journalistic credibility. To my surprise, it went viral within hours. The readership was appalled by the notion that their favorite author had built his career off of deceit. The feedback was immediate and intense. Former fans of Ian were now demanding for responses while the literary community was abuzz with the drama. His team did issue a statement rather quickly, claiming that I am a jealous ex who wants to ruin his career and accusing me of false allegations. But unfortunately, that's not what the world saw. The world now viewed him, not as a literary genius, but a potential imposter. The legal battles that came with it were gruesome, though. Ian mounted a counterattack and spared no resources in trying to discredit my claim. His lawyers worked nonstop and made my life miserable, arguing that there was no definitive evidence that I was the original author. The best argument they came up with was that the similarities in my claims and his published work were inspirational in nature. And while doing this, they tried to dig out my history and present me as a wannabe writer seeking attention. But my lawyer came ready. With the email evidence, with the testimonies from our shared friends, with the timeline showing when the Ian manuscript was published, and the clear evidence a manuscript was penned long before that. We were even lucky enough to recover some fragments from the original copy of my claim, where Ian was with access when we were together. Then came the big reveal when we called Ian to the witness stand. Faced with intense scrutiny, Ian's resolve started to break. When we probed him with details regarding the outline of the book, he responded in a non-coherent, evasive manner. He was unable to outline fundamentals of character and plot development that every real author understands. It was becoming clearer that he did not possess any in-depth knowledge of the book he wrote, but rather like an individual who had only just read it. The case seemed to stretch for ages, but I feel like I am finally getting the outcome I was